we're going to go ahead and get started. Just some housekeeping. The bathrooms are out the door on the back of this building, and they are open. So, of course, we want to keep as much cool air in as possible. The candidates that you'll see today are the candidates that will be on your ballot here in Bouse. So we'll get started. If you guys can silence your cell phones. We're going to stand for the pledge. Here's the flag, and then we'll have a prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we'll have Carol Miles for our prayer.
Heavenly Father, we praise you, Lord, for this day. Even though the heat, it's still a nice day. And Lord, we thank you for all the people that showed up to meet these candidates, and we pray for the candidates as they present themselves to us. Lord, let's keep everything in today's language cool and no arguing. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I don't know. George, we can ask George. We did in the past here.
So the kids have written some rules for us on the wall over here. I thought was just some fun housekeeping. So keep your hands to yourself. No hitting, kicking, or pushing. Wait your turn. No name calling. No phone. Show respect. No talking when someone else is speaking, and do not make fun of someone else. So we're going to start with our Senate candidates. There are legislative district Senate candidates, our state candidates, and Kimberly Zanin is going to be our first candidate.
Well, I can start off with my usually line because it's pretty cool. Well, some people didn't think it's cool. I broke my wrist playing pickleball, and so I had this cool cast for 5 weeks, and I literally had it as a campaign. I had Xanin on it, so everywhere I went, it was like a marketing. So it was pretty cool. So yesterday they finally took it off, as you can see the skin. So I feel a little sad without it because that was always my starting line to talk about the crazy pickleball accident I had. So now you just get me. So my name is Kimberly Zanin. I am running for LD30 State Senate seat here in your district. And what got me involved in this is I've always been involved in community service from the time I was in California working with the Sex Trafficking Division in Santa Ana, also LA County, and then different foster care systems out there. I was always involved with it, and I went through that as a volunteer situation through my church out there. We had opened up a smaller church in Bellflower at the time, so they put me in charge of our compassion department there as a volunteer, and so I was very strongly involved in bringing the community together and working well with the community. So it's a passion of mine. It's also a very strong passion of mine to try to help build our children back up, because I see the devastation that's going on with our kids. My husband and I, my husband's a retired CHP officer, so we do live on a fixed income, so I also understand that process as well. It's not easy to be out here in the economy that we have right now with everything going on to have that fixed income. But my biggest problem is watching these children. What can we do? The foster care system here in Arizona needs serious help. I mean, I believe in all the United States, the foster care system has been broken. I would go and talk to multiple people about the CASA program, which is the Court Appointed Special Advocate for Children. And every time I sat down with people, the first thing they would say, you know, the foster system is broken. Well, we can keep saying it, or we could do something. So a lot of that is what kind of driven me to keep going forward. And so a year ago, I was really struggling with having the right facilities and right organizations into the rural counties, because we don't have the same services as the big cities do. And so our children here suffer, right? And so I'm screaming, and I'm kind of new to the area, and I'm thinking, well, why am I out there trying to contact. I mean, I went through and talked to Leo, who's our House of Representatives. I went to different people in our city council. I talked to different people to try to say, what can we do? Well, in that process, I'm a faithful woman. God kept putting on my heart to run for state senate. This was an argument I had with God because it didn't make sense to me. I never wanted to be a politician. I didn't want to go into becoming a politician. I've analyzed politics my whole life since Ronald Reagan, and I would always be that person in the background. Does anybody else not notice what's going on? So I didn't want to get involved, but God kept putting the right people in front of me, kept saying, you're going to do this. And I'm like, nope, nope. And at some point, I finally said, maybe I need to really hear what he's saying. So I did go into a 21-day fast and prayer. And my friend here with me, she's one of my closest Christian friends in Havasu. I even had her, I'm like, Debbie, I'm going to really need to be serious on making this decision because this is pretty big. And so as I was going through doing my scriptures and writing things down, I had her verify, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because he's telling me to run. And from there, that's kind of how the process happened. And as I've been going through this, I was on the bottom when I stood up. It was July 4th at a Republican women's group in Havasu. And I knew the two people that were already endorsing my opponent. But to me, my heart was saying, we need choices. Politicians aren't supposed to be picking our candidates for us. We are supposed to be picking our candidates. The people are. And that's what primaries are for. We're supposed to have candidates to go into the primary, to talk to people, to get out there and say, this is who I am, this is why I'm running, and this is why I want your vote. So when I went into it, obviously I'm at the bottom of the mountain. I didn't have the endorsements, I didn't have the backing, I didn't have any of the big money coming in. So we were going to be a definite grassroots campaign. And I'm talking grass like it was still the seed. And not a mustard seed, it was a grass seed. We're going to go with that because a mustard seed is a lot better, but you know how I say it. But anyway, so here we are, we're fighting. But I didn't stop. And I knew there was a lot of challenges up this hill. But we are up the hill. And it's not because we ever got paid by big money. I never got big endorsements. Do I work well with Leo and John? Yes, I have had multiple conversations with them. So when I'm in office, I'm going to work really well with them because we have similar morals and thoughts of what we want for our community. So that's not going to be the problem. But here I am still fighting. So I want you guys to know, I have spent the last year working hard to be out there to talk to people like you. I have gone to restaurants. I go sit down. I don't just go to the clubs or the meetings. I really do get into the community, sit down with people. If you said, Kim, I want to know more about you, call me up. I'll have coffee. I enjoy talking to people and getting to know everyone. And because we need to get our government back to that thought process. You people need to have the control, not the politicians. And I am strongly believing that because I am not a politician, like I said. I do not plan on climbing a ladder. I don't plan on trying to make this a career for me. Whatever the people and God wants me to do is where I'm going to go. And so I am running for state senate because I want to get the voice back to the people. I have strong values on this border. I believe the border is going to be closed once we get President Trump back into office. But I also believe that we need to work on our rural counties on how much the pay that's coming in. When I had the broken wrist, when I went to ER, the young girl that was there, she was a triage nurse that was doing, working on my arm. She worked 3 jobs. She's a triage nurse. She's okay. EMT, sorry, I didn't even ask how long I had. EMT, and so we need to get that economy back in our rural county and bring our money back up, how much these people are getting paid and how well they're getting paid. Because if we don't fix the younger youth and our people that are going to grow up to keep this country alive, we will lose the country. That's a guarantee because we're already seeing a lot of it happening. So I'm asking for your vote because I am not a politician. I truly care about the people. I truly want to make a difference in our communities. I truly believe because I will live in this community. I will fight for the people that I'm living with, and I will not turn my back on you. And if I can't get it done, then I am the type of person that says, then get me out. So again, my name is Kimberly Zanin. I truly care. I really want to hear your voice. Please take time to talk to me, get to know me. And then on July 30th, well, actually early voting starts on July 3rd. So you have from 3rd till the 30th. Please get out and vote for Kimberly Zanin because I'm going to go in there and fight for you. This is not about me, it's about you. Honestly. Thank you. Lake Havasu. Yeah.
So Kimberly came here from Havasu, so we appreciate you coming all this way.
Oh, no,
Thank you so much.
I like the drive. I was also a FedEx driver 18 years. Driving's a piece of cake.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our next Senate candidate is Hildy Angus, and she comes here from Bullhead. So thank you.
2.5 hours, yes. So yes, my name is Hildy Angus, and I'm asking you for your support. LD30 is all of Mojave County, all of La Paz, and Wickenburg. I'm currently the chairman of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors. I'm in my 3rd term. I ran against a three-term incumbent of my own party, and I beat him because he was not acting like a Republican. They were raising taxes, and everyone said you can't do it, but I did it, and I won, and I ran unopposed. I'm going to talk about my endorsements first and get that out, because Kimberly sort of made reference to it. I am endorsed by Congressman Paul Gosar, Senator Sonny Borelli, Representatives Leo Biasucci, and John Gillette. And they endorsed me, not because we've known each other for many, many years. We came up through the Republican Party and we worked together in the party. They endorsed me because I've gone into battle with each of those gentlemen and we won. With Paul Gosar, we went up against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the unelected bureaucrats, and we won. I went up against, with Sonny, I went up against a law that was unconstitutional that they had passed unanimously down at the legislature, and we won. And that is my reputation. I have a record of success. I want to say something because it keeps playing my brain. This thing about I'm not a politician. I'm a proud politician. I am. Politics, I heard Newt Gingrich once say, politics is the romantic idea of how a free people govern themselves. People make it bad. Politics in its own is really a beautiful thing because everybody gets a say in it. You get to vote for who you want. Representatives get to say who they endorse. We're all in this together. You get to vote. And then it's your job to make sure that we've done what we said we're going to do. I know the big issues are water, water, water. I have worked with my county. I have worked with the legislature. We have been, there's Colorado water and there's the brown water, and the Colorado water, we are in a lawsuit that La Paz is in as well. I've worked with all the supervisors in La Paz, and for now we have won that. You know, it's always, again, a battle, but we fight. Mojave County, our reputation is we fight for what we believe, and for many years down there at the legislature, we were kind of looked down on. You know, we're Mojave County, we're sort of in the boondocks, but over the years, we have stepped up, and now we are respected. We have 2 men in leadership. So when Sonny Borelli came to me and he said, I'm term limited and I want you to run, I want you to take my place because I know you will fight for our issues, and fight I will. From the border to the water, and before the meeting, somebody was talking about the public lands, and back in about 6 years ago, the BLM came in and they wanted to close the motorized trails. It's so many acres, so many miles of trails without even having public comment. So we got down and we said, like, how can we do this? And we ended up putting together at the county level a commission that was able to bring the government in front of them and make them be accountable. And you know what they did? They abandoned it. Because at the end of the day, they don't want to put up with the bull. They don't. They don't want to be accountable. And if you just don't do anything, they think they can rail. We're seeing it again in our public lands. You know, for years we were told we have to protect our public lands for everybody. And I know you all agree with me, right? But now what they're doing is they want to lease public lands for renewable energy. So all that talk about pristine, they want to put solar panels on that will ruin it for generations. We've got to stop that. I'm a fighter. That's my reputation. And I'm asking you to support me July 30th. And if you have any questions, I have something on your seats and I have my phone number. That's my cell phone. You can call me anytime. So again, I'm Hildy Angus, and I'm asking for your support on July 30th for the Republican nomination for Arizona State Senate. Thank you. Okay. All right.
So you guys can mingle with them at their tables if you guys have any questions. But we have several candidates here today, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next category, which is our District 2 Supervisor. So we'll go in alphabetical order. Philip Cushman, and then Deuce Miner, and then Carrie Ann Miltner. So, and then each one will have 3 minutes.
Okay, good evening. First, I want to thank the organizers, George, thank you for the hot dogs, and of course the staff, thank you for hosting us. I'm Philip Cushman from Quartzsite, other side of the mountains, and Cushman's from Quartzsite, that's easy to remember. My family came to Quartzsite, one side came in the 60s, the other side came in the 70s. I grew up there, and I'm a graduate of Siloam High School. Again, George Nault was on the board, school board when I was there. And he gave us a lot of really great opportunities with the idea that we go off, go do great things, and then come back to La Paz County and provide service to our community. My family had been a lot of school teachers, firefighters. My dad was with the Department of Transportation. My mom was in the post office. And we were a lot of the public servants that helped build this county before it was a county, helped build Quartzsite before it was a town, and were, made this community what it is. I went off into the Marine Corps, served honorably faithful for over 22 years, served in combat, was in the Battle of Fallujah, Battle of Ramadi, and several other places, and then came back in 2014 and tried to find a role in my community. Had an opportunity to serve on the Quartzsite Fire District Board, and still there's been a Cushman in the Quartzsite Fire District since we started. Two of my grandfathers started it back in the early 70s. What caused me to run was some concerns with the incumbent. When he voted to consolidate the justice of the peace, that got me concerned because there's constitutional implications with that. When I voted to, when I took an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, I took that very seriously. Due process with our courts, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. The Justice of the Peace there in Quartzsite is a historical office. Now we have to go to Parker. The folks in Siloam, Vicksburg, Glendon now have to go to Parker to get their justice. That is unconscionable. And why did he do that? So we can have a $4 million surplus. The courts cost what, $800,000 a year? We could have had a $2 million surplus and still have our courts today. So I could have been happily, in Quartzsite, quiet, but this is what really pushed me to run. So in this brochure is my experience. Think of it as a resume. This is a job interview. And I don't know who said it, but you got to be very careful about who you put as your representative. A supervisor, we have taxing authority, we have subpoena authority, we have a lot of control over your life. I remember in 2008, I was doing a study at the Naval War College there in Newport, Rhode Island, and there was a big election that was going on between Obama and McCain. And somebody asked me, so what do you think's going to happen? I was on active duty at the time. And I said, at my level, there's not going to be too much change in national security or foreign policy. But what's going to really be serious? That local election. Because nobody knows who's going to happen, but those people can really screw up your life. But I can tell you, my example, when I was on the hospital district board, we expanded the hospital district, our capabilities. No new taxes with the hospital district. We expanded the fire district. No new taxes on that. My current position as a commissioner, 3 new state veteran homes at $25 million each. Again, no more taxes for the taxpayer. So if you want somebody that's not going to burden the taxpayer, get somebody like me that's going to respect the Constitution. Thank you. If you want one of these, let me know.
Thank you, Philip Cushman. And now Deuce Minor is here for Parker.
Good evening, Bouse. Good evening. Nice to be here again. I was just in this room yesterday watching the kids look at the reptiles and pet the snakes and the turtles. And I will tell you, I sat right back there where that gentleman's at, and I did not come up and pet them. I'm not a snake guy, but which is awkward when you live in the desert. So my talk is written because I can't hold myself to 3 minutes if I don't. I would talk for another 30 minutes. But and I'm happy to take questions if they allow it, or talk to you afterwards and answer any questions you have. But I am District 2 Supervisor Deuce Minor. And my thanks to the organizers for hosting the forum, and to all of you for taking the time to come out this evening. La Paz County is in the best shape it has ever been, and I'm proud of that. We have put our financial house in order, finally. In 2021, our finances were a mess. We were declared insolvent. We struggled to find a bank that would service our needs. Not a proud time for our county. Today, we have paid down major debt, and we have established a reserve fund of $3.9 million. As stewards of your tax dollars, it is critical that we live within our means. Making the decisions needed to improve our county government is sometimes difficult. Decisions can be complicated by people promoting misinformation and intentionally creating chaos. I have stayed strong against such efforts and taken the lead in making changes needed to be successful. One example is the consolidation of our justice courts from 3 courts to 1. This one change is saving you, the taxpayers of La Paz County, $800,000 per year. In our little county, that's a lot of money. Some said it would not work, and it is working extremely well. My decision was based on factual information when we made it. I want to thank Judge Tiffany Dyer because she has been key to making it work. We have changed the culture in our county government. This has been a huge team effort. Today, most of our county staff are rowing in the same direction, and they are proud too. As we move forward, we are putting the policies and procedures in place to keep things in line. I am proud that we have created an environment to attract business and development in our county. People want to invest here now. We are seeing major investment in Bouse, on the Parker Strip, along the I-10, and great things are happening in Quartzsite. I know some people are opposed to change and development, but in government, we are either moving forward or we're moving backwards. We are all struggling as individuals and families with our nation's screwed up economy and the rising cost of living. Local government is directly affected by rising costs too. We can address rising costs by raising taxes, or we can encourage smart growth to bring in new revenues. I favor smart growth. There are many more things we can now be proud of in our county. Parks that were falling apart a few years ago are now points of pride for all of us. We are making good progress on our county roads. Our battle to protect our water will never end. I have supported all efforts to protect our water since 1989, both groundwater and Colorado River water, and I will continue to support those efforts. I have been part of this county for 46 years. My wife Tammy and I raised our family here. We have always looked for ways to make our community the best place it can be for all of us to live. I take my job as your supervisor seriously, and I appreciate you allowing me to do it. I'm asking for your support again at the primary election on July 30th or by early voting beginning July 3rd. Okay, somebody asked me earlier, and I don't know if we're going to get questions, so I'm going to read it really fast because somebody asked me about the things that have been accomplished in Bouse. This is not a complete comprehensive list, but I'll read it fast. I thought it was funny, but it was real in 2016 when I was running cows in Bouse. Before I ever took office, we went out and I helped work on the project, and we put post and cable out there to keep the cows out of Bouse. The community building we're sitting in was being used for storage. It's really exciting to see it being used the way it's supposed to be used. Work to increase the annual contribution to the Bouse Chamber so they get their fair share every year. I've supported a number of IDA projects here in the Bouse community. The fire hood and suppression system at the Booster Hall, new windows and AC. Today, computers for the library. We got the railroad crossing at Main Street done with the railroad. Turn lanes at Yellowbird. Street work is ongoing with major projects scheduled this fall. Are you telling me I'm done? Okay, then I've got a bigger list if you want to see it. I wasn't even halfway there yet. But like I said, I'm happy to take any questions if they let us do that, but whatever works for you guys.
Should we have time at the end and you guys are still...
Hi guys, hi ladies. Thank you, George, for hosting this, Messina for emceeing it, and all of you for coming out in the heat. For the very few that I have not met already, my name is Carrie Ann Noltner. I am a resident of the Bouse area and running for county supervisor in this district, District 2. I can actually thank Mr. Minor for the fact that I'm running. We kind of got into it over something that was happening out by 41 and 42. We disagreed about it. We battled it out, and that manufacturing company is now on Joshua Street. You know, that's the way it goes. But I felt right from that moment that I did not get the representation as a rural resident, and a big part of that was because I felt he didn't understand who we were as people. And that was unfortunate. I really hadn't had my sights set on being a politician. Not that it's a dirty word or not a dirty word, it just wasn't where I was at. I have a 16-year-old daughter at home who is finishing her last year of high school as a homeschooler and running her own business, getting ready to move on with her life, and that's kind of what I thought I would be doing. But I think we deserve better representation. A lot of the decisions that the Board of Supervisors has made over the last 8 years, I kind of agree with. There's some I don't. I don't agree with shutting down the courts, specifically the rural courts. I don't agree with shutting down the public defender's office because I've looked at those budgets every which way and cannot figure out how we've saved money on that. Considering they've added more money to the budget this year in order to cover the cost of having those extra lawyers that are not part of a community office. Here in Bouse, we've been dealing with some folks who think that our property is their property at will, and we've been trying to figure out a way how to solve that. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with our thieves in town? And there's not many of them, but man, they can create some chaos here, can't they? And we had meetings where we all got together with the supervisor, with the attorneys, with the new sheriff at the time, now the seasoned professional that he is in that position. And we're like, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? And that was actually my very first introduction to Mr. Miner. And his response at that meeting was, yeah, well, at the end of the day, the tweakers are smarter. You know, they're smarter than we are. And I thought that was the most disrespectful thing that possibly could have been said. Okay, I can agree that they are probably better organized than we are because we don't sit around waiting to be a victim. They kind of know when they're going to go steal from us. So we've come together as a community and we're doing something about it. We've had 4 of our bad boys go through the court system over the last several months. And every single time they have a court appearance, a bunch of us show up. And we sit in the seats and we let them know that we're tired of it. We're watching them. And not only have they noticed that, but the attorneys have noticed that, the judge has noticed that, and the judge is actually including it in his speech now when he gives out this sentence saying, you know, these people here, they're all here for you, and they're tired of you. Okay? I'm a person of action. I come from a history of longshoring and commercial fishing, working in some pretty challenging situations. And those of you who know me, you know that I'm going to step up and I'm going to be there. When you call, I'm going to be there to help you. And I think a good supervisor should do that, and that will be me. So I'm asking for your vote on July 30th. Thank you, and I love you all.
We have a couple of our elected officials that are here just to share with you. They are unopposed, but they decided to come out and see you guys, and I think that's awesome. So we'll start out with, is Drew Wagner here? Not today. Okay, we'll start out with Richard Garcia. He is our current recorder. He is unopposed, and so we thank him for coming out and sharing with you guys today.
Good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Richard Garcia, candidate for county recorder and currently serving the county recorder position. Although I'm running unopposed, I still felt the need to come and introduce myself, meet everybody that probably hasn't met me before. I'm a lifelong resident of this county. I was born in Blythe, California, but I was raised in Parker. I attended the Para Elementary School and Parker High School there. I'm married to the love of my life named Myrna. Together we're raising 2 little girls, Hannah, who is 7, Merari, who is 2 years old. I currently serve my local church as the music director there, and I'm also currently serving as the assistant pastor there. Recently, I lost my brother there, so he was the pastor. He passed away in March, so I stepped in and took over the position temporarily. So it's something that I love because it's something that gives me the opportunity to serve people that are in need. I was hired by the county recorder's office in 2004 as the voter registration coordinator. So throughout the years, I kind of just worked my way up for the past almost 20 years. After being the voter registration coordinator, I went ahead and stepped into the position of chief deputy recorder. In 2020, I was appointed the county recorder, and that same year, I went ahead and ran for the position and was elected. During my time as county recorder for the past 3 years, one of the accomplishments that we have done since I took over the office is that a lot of people would come to the office and wanted Yuma County records. And as many of you know, we became a county in 1983, so everything prior to 83 was on microfiche, and we weren't able to print or provide the copies to the public. So having a close contact with Yuma County Recorder's Office, I was able to obtain digital images of all the records that go back all the way back to the 40s. And I was very proud of that because it didn't cost the county anything. It was totally free. And I had a company go in there to look at all our microfiche, and they told me it would cost thousands of dollars and it would take a lot of time to get it digitized. And so that was one of the accomplishments that I was very proud of because it didn't cost the county anything. We've also increased our security with elections. Elections has been very, the whole thing with the voter fraud and all those concerns has been a very popular topic. So we've increased security in our office by placing a security access door to protect all the ballots. Okay, so nobody has access to that other than me and 2 other people. So those ballots are very secure. We've also revamped our early ballot affidavits. So those that vote by mail, when you get your ballot, there's going to be a security flag over that. Prior to, we didn't have that. So now, under my direction, we went ahead and made some changes to kind of secure your information so it's not viewable. If you send it by mail, it's not going to be viewed. So we did that. We're looking for other areas that maybe we can improve on, maybe more security. But my office has also increased providing service to the outerlining areas of the county, which includes Bouse, Salome, Quartzsite. We want to expand towards Ehrenberg, but we go and we provide a service during the election time for voter registration drives. We provide satellite early voting locations, so it gives you the opportunity to vote early while we're there, so you don't have to drive all the way to Parker. So we come out to these areas to do that. And actually, we're going to be here July 10th here in this building from 10 to 2. So anybody that wants to vote early, we're going to be here that day. And I'm just blessed to be part of this community. And I'm honored and take pride in serving you all as county residents. And I made this statement back in 2020, and I stand true to it today. And that statement is that I believe La Paz citizens deserve the best service, secure public records kept in accordance with state statute, and an election process that is transparent, reliable, and accurate. And just please let me know if there's anything that I can ever do to help you or do anything to help you. And I thank you again for your support.
Thank you, Richard, for coming out. The next category we're going to see is the sheriff. So we will go in alphabetical order. So we'll have Sheriff Potts, and then we'll see John Walker.
Good evening, everybody. I am your current Sheriff, William Potts. I appreciate you guys having us here tonight and allowing us to be here to speak on our platforms and what we're trying to do. So as you know, I've been your sheriff for the last 3 years. When I ran for sheriff, I ran because people here in Bouse specifically wanted change. They had no representation of law enforcement presence out here. There was issues related to traffic enforcement was a problem. Burglaries were a problem. Transients were a problem. We've worked on those transient issues. We've arrested several people, and as Carrie Ann stated, those people have been indicted and are currently incarcerated. Traffic enforcement. I created
the first ever full-time traffic enforcement unit in La Paz County. And if you have seen him out here, you know he is a diligent worker. He's out there. He's in every part of this county working in an unmarked Mustang, but he's out there doing traffic enforcement. That's what you wanted. I brought it. I made it happen because that's what I am. I am a man that makes things happen. Okay? If you bring something to me, I'm going to give you a resolution. I'm going to figure out how to fix it. I was born and raised in this county. It was Yuma County when I was born here, but I've been here my whole life. Served in law enforcement for over 2 decades. The last 10 years have been spent in command level. I've been the chief of 2 police departments and currently your sheriff, as I stated. So I'm committed to this county. I continue to want to do so, and I will do so for as long as you'll have me. But I want you to know that I am committed to making this place better. That's been my goal since I took office. It continues to be my goal. Has it been easy? No, it has not. When I took office, the budget was in the red. The budget was already approved. I had to figure out how to exist with the budget that was very limited. They didn't know where monies were going. Nobody was looking at the line items and figuring out. They were just paying things left and right. They were using the RICO fund as an account to pay other funds that shouldn't have been doing that. RICO is used for drug enforcement activity. They were paying other salaries out of there. Not okay. We took care of all that. We now have accountability. We are tracking budgets. We have gotten over $7 million in 3 years under this administration. $7 million in grant funds from the state and federal monies. Unheard of in this county's history. $7 million I brought to this county as the sheriff. Trying to continue to bring resources to the people here, services. For year one, after the next budget cycle, I was told to cut my budget $500,000. I said, that's not gonna work. How am I supposed to sustain this department? I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the state. I'm gonna start asking for money. I went to the state, I went to the federal government, got COPS grants and DEMA grants, and that's how we're at $7 million in grant funding. Vehicles were purchased out of RICO accounts because we couldn't purchase them with our general budget, okay? We are now getting 18 brand new vehicles from federal and state monies that I have obtained at no cost to you guys, the taxpayers. Why? Because I know that we don't have the money, so I'm gonna figure out how to get it. So I am the first sheriff in this history of this county who has been told by other sheriffs, you are out there, you have a voice at the state now. La Paz County is respected because of what you're doing. You put them on the map. Why? Because I'm out there, I'm tenacious, and I'm doing your work to make you guys known and that I am committed to the safety of the citizens of this county. I'm 100% committed. I want you to know that. I continue to fight, I will not stop fighting. Every time you go to the board meetings, you'll see that there's probably at least one grant on there from our office because we continue to seek out those grants to fund our operations. In the next 6 months, we will have a 3-man team, special enforcement unit that will come out and hit hotspots within this county, okay? That's out of a $3.9 million grant that I got for the next 5 years. That's additional bodies that we didn't have because the county could not add people to my staff. So I went outside to find those people and grow this department and continue to grow. You have people saying that I've ran off many employees. Well, if the employees did not want to accept change, because that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to change the culture, then they needed to go, I'm sorry. That's just how it is. We are 2 people short in patrol, we are 1 person short in investigations, but we are filling positions and we're bringing higher quality individuals into the department. And you see that in the interactions that you have with your community, with your officers in the community, do you not? I know it because I see that, I hear it from the citizens. They are proud of what the interactions are now, not like it was previously. My men understand the expectation that I have. I give the same commitment that my men do. So thank you, and please vote for me on July 30th, okay, as your next sheriff.
John Walker.
I hope it's me, I'm setting up. Hi everybody, my name is John Walker. I'm a Bousonian, or Bouseketeer as we were referred to the other day. I'm running for sheriff. I used to work for the Sheriff's Department. I worked for the Sheriff's Department until Sheriff Ponce got elected. I think a month after he got elected, I left. I'm running for sheriff because, as the sheriff mentioned, he wants to change the culture. And that's a good thing if the culture was being changed to a good thing. Since Sheriff Ponce became the sheriff, more than 50 people have cycled through the department. I'm sure it's higher than that, but I'm being conservative. But we're not losing people that have a year and a half on, or 2 years on, or 3 years on. We're losing people like me, I had 6 years on. We lose people with 12 years on, 15 years on. We lost someone who had 22 years on for the La Paz County Sheriff's Department. She cycled through 5 sheriffs, something like that, and decided not to quit until Sheriff Ponce got here. The
problem with the culture at La Paz County Sheriff's Office is it's a culture of aggression, to use a kind word. When I talk up here, when I talk to you guys individually, the first thing out of my mouth normally is, please do the research. Please talk to these employees that have left, talk to the employees that are still there that are willing to talk, and get that information. Do the research and talk to these people. Sheriff Potts did a great job getting grants, and I commend him for that. He did a good job with that, and I appreciate that. But grants is not everything. When you have a decimated search and rescue team, and you have a decimated SWAT SRT team, all the experienced people are gone, the boating people have all left, the search and rescue, my deal is gone. We had 4 canines when Sheriff Potts started. 4 canines. They are all gone now. Perfectly good dogs, they're all gone. We don't have a canine now. I want to change the culture to a culture where employees are appreciated and they're respected. And if you do that, they will go out and do a good job. Not because they're made to, because they want to. They want to embrace the mission, they want to embrace our culture, and they want to go out and do a good job. And they won't leave. I'm going to stop the bleeding at the La Paz County Sheriff's Office. And I'm going to put it back together. All those things that I mentioned are going to be put back together over time. It might take a minute, it might take some money, but it'll get done. These things are the things that directly impact the citizens, business owners, and visitors to our county, and we're going to get it fixed. And I'm here for questions as long as you need. And thank you guys for putting this on. We appreciate it, and appreciate you coming in.
Okay, so that concludes our sheriffs. Our next is Leah Castro. She is our treasurer. She is unopposed but came here to share with you guys. So we thank her for coming. And here she is.
Hello everyone. I may have met some of you before in the office, but I'm Leah Castro, the treasurer of La Paz County. I have been in that office since 1998 when I was first hired on under Darren Harris, and served under Ellen Solber as well, who was the treasurer for several years. And then when she left in 2010, I was appointed to fill the rest of her term, and then ran for office in 12, 16, and 20 unopposed. So I'm getting ready to do this again, and I appreciate, though it has seemed to have been an unopposed office all these years, or it actually probably has been all these years, since back to the beginning with Darren Harris, the vote is still important, no matter what. It shows something. People do vote for the one that's unopposed, and you see those votes come in. I've noticed that before, the number, and it's appreciated because people took the time to do it. So it is an important thing. Just to tell you real quick about the treasurer's office, not only are we the tax collector, but we are also serving as the county's bank. So all the departments' money that comes in across countywide comes to us, cash checks, wires, etc. So we manage that and produce reports and invest the county's money, as well as the school districts and fire departments that all come into us as well. So my family moved here in 1985, so I've been in Parker for that long. Went away for a short time to Flagstaff for school, went to NAU. It was a whole different area of schooling, but when I came back from college, I was hired there in 1998, so I've been there ever since, and I'm proud of having been there all this time, serving under treasurers who were very responsible, learning from them, and knowing how important it was to balance daily, monthly, annually, and be able to provide that information. And I have a very helpful staff to me. They're very good at their jobs and have integrity, honesty, and I haven't had to worry about any of that. So I'm happy to report that to everybody, and if you have any questions for me later, we'll be here for a little bit. So thank you very much, and thank you for your vote.
Okay. Well, we're thankful that you guys came. One more, Anna Camacho is here, and she is our assessor, so she's going to give you a little rundown on her election this year.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, Mr. Knoll, for feeding us. I really appreciate everybody here today. It tells me I care. I need to hear what's happening with all these people running for office. Well, you know what? This is the only way you're gonna get the truth, okay? I am this kind of woman that I don't consider myself a politician because I don't talk like a politician, because I will be in your face 24/7 if I feel you're not doing something right. And I challenge the board every day, all day long. So when they say everything's running perfect, no, it's not. I'm the county assessor. I deal with valuing everybody's property here in La Paz County. And the problem that I have a great problem with the building department, okay? It is making my world chaos, chaos, chaos. They're not following policy and procedure. Those permits come into my office. I use those permits as my Bible. They are the little document that says, Anna, I have built a house. Come out and measure me and put me on the roll. Well, we don't do a good job in that department. And I voiced it to them over and over. 8 years I've been in this spot. But I've been working for the county for almost 20 years. So I know all the little backhand stories. I know all the little secrets. And it's not all gravy. It's not all roses. There are problems. I want to help fix those problems. But if I can't get the support of the board who runs the county, who has the pocketbook, okay, and they are the ones that can help us. I can't do anything. People come and knock on my door all day long, call me, Anna, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? I will try to help them and divert them to the right area. But even when I do that, they come back to me, Anna, I didn't get any help. So what are we to do? So what happens? I write an article, right? Because I found the statute that says we need to have this statute that allows people to share their grievances, and there needs to be a policy and procedure. That way I can stay out of it, because between Mr. Plunkett and Mr. Minor, they keep telling me, Anna, stay in your lane. Stop getting in other people's business. You know what? The whole county is my business. I'm a county-wide elected official, okay? I serve everybody in this town and everywhere else. And so I get more complaints than you guys do. And you guys don't listen. So what do? I follow the chain of command. I complain to each supervisor, to each department head. However the protocol goes, I follow it. At that last resort, it's go to the public and write an article in the paper so that all you guys know what I'm doing. I am trying to make things right. I'm not always going to be the assessor. The next person that sits in that chair needs to have an effective policy and procedure on all the departments that work together. My department works very closely with the recorder's office, with the treasurer's office, and the building department. Okay? Without those offices working together, we can't do a good job for you guys. Okay? If I find it's broken, I'm going to suggest, hey, here's a solution. But they don't want to hear the solution. What did they say in the newspaper last week? They said, you know what, we'll look into that policy, but right now, if you have a problem, go to your supervisor. Well, some of you have the problem with that supervisor. Now what? What do? They don't want to go to that supervisor, but there is no direction for them. There is no policy, there is no statute that allows them to voice their grievances. And you know what? I would love to be able to help all of you guys, but I can't, because I don't run those departments. But I am going to keep fighting for you until these guys do their job. So with that said, thank you.
Well, that concludes all of our candidates speaking. And if you guys are willing to stick around, we'd be willing to take some questions from the audience. Does anybody have questions? Somebody, a candidate that you want to ask a question to?
Candidates come up or not?
You guys, you want to come up? So we'll start with our state senate candidate. Do you guys have any questions for Kimberly Zanin?
Any questions? I'll take anything. I know how to make a mean pot of chicken, homemade chicken noodle soup with homemade noodles. You want the recipe? I'll give it to you. I can just give you a quick thing again. If you don't have questions, you always are welcome to talk to me. But just know that I'm going nowhere. I am close to people that are in your community, working close into your community. I care about your community. I'm not going to go to Phoenix, move to Phoenix and stay in Phoenix and forget about us. I will be here at all times. I'm not moving. So if you have concerns, La Paz is important to me, just like where I live in Mojave County and just like Wickenburg. I made a comment a couple weeks ago when someone was asking about, you know, our counties, and all my opponents were talking about Mojave. I said, you know, as a state senator, I'm everybody's senator, not Mojave County senator. So just know that. I hear you, I see you, I talk to people in your community that are leaders in the community, and I will continue to work with them to make sure you guys are taken care of as your senator. Just a quick up on it.
Did you have a question?
Yeah.
No, I'm keeping quiet.
Oh, okay. Come on.
Anybody else have a question?
So
Yes.
our groundwater is obviously important
Yes.
to it.
Yes.
Our flood line.
Yes, sir.
BLM has designated some of these solar areas or renewable energy areas. We have one right now in our backyard. It's heliogen.
Yes.
And they're projecting to build this solar hydrogen plant using our aquifer to
Right.
do it.
My goal is, because I do believe that, and it makes me sad to see how they will take advantage of our rural counties. And I don't know if it's because they think that we can't fight for ourselves or whatever, and they can sneak in and do certain things. I do not agree with our rural counties being taken advantage of. This is a big desert. There's a lot of areas we could go to. We don't need to be doing it in our smaller communities and taking advantage of our water. So yes, I will 100% be out there fighting for our rural counties, our rural water, and also with the lawsuit that is still pending, from what I understand, is protecting, making sure organizations aren't coming in and buying our land and then selling our groundwater, which is what's in that lawsuit right now. I know you guys are probably very aware of the lawsuit, and it's still pending. There's still some stuff that they're working on. So I'm a believer in fighting for our smaller communities. I left a big city because since I was a little girl, never wanted to live in a big city. I want to see rural counties. Now, is some growth to happen, but it needs to be happening in the proper way. And it doesn't need to be happening by big organizations coming in and taking up land and then destroying our communities. I don't believe that should be happening. You guys belong here, you live here, this is your community, it needs to stay that way. As your senator, I will work hard to keep that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And again, I have stuff back there for you to read.
Okay, our District 2 candidates. Does anybody have questions for our District 2 candidates?
I had an update for you, John.
Yes.
Heliogen is talking about pulling the hydrogen part of that plan and just making it solar. Just food for thought. That's the latest word. There is usually built-in contingencies for them to remove all of that at the end. At least there's supposed to be an exit plan for when they're done with that, with the land.
But to be clear, there's no windmills in La Paz County. It's solar panels, but not windmills. Oh no, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I want to be clear.
And usually they pitch that they're gonna wash the solar panels once a year when they're explaining their water consumption.
I have a question. What Anna was talking about, the problems with the building department not doing what they're supposed to do to help her office. As supervisors, do you have oversight over the building department? Are they a voted in,
I have an answer for that. You have a person that the supervisors hire, it's called the county administrator. The county administrator works for the board of supervisors. And through the county administrator, that's who the county staff works for.
and that's not a voted in?
No, that's an appointed position. And the competency and abilities of that individual transcends through the entire
Well,
county.
we've lived for 20 years, and I can tell you, we have had nothing
know, we have, you know, we're a small county, no surprise, no secret. And I don't know how many of you are still in business, but if you were in business at one time, you know, trying to hire employees is not always the easiest thing to do. We have to find ways to incentivize them because we don't pay as much as some of the private enterprise. But we have over time been restructuring that department, and believe me, I've been there almost 8 years, and I've had so many headaches over there with different people in that department. It's gradually been calming down. I was just there today. We brought Sabina, came back, who used to be in that office before, and people just loved her. She's now back. But I will tell you, I mean, I don't know how long it's been since you were there, and it's never fun to go in and deal with permits and stuff, but it's become a lot better place, and we have tried to instruct our staff as a board that we want their mission to find a way to say yes. Now, it's unfortunate, and I didn't come here tonight to run for assessor, but it's unfortunate that we have an elected official who will target other departments instead of paying attention to her own department. Now, that department that she's bragging about has been through more people than any other department that I know of for her size since she became that position. Now, I spent 4 years defending her because we had a horrible administrator who was pretty rough on her and picked on her, and I thought it was inappropriate. But we've had new people in place, and we're trying to make things better. But that office has frankly been through a lot of people. It's been through a number of chief deputies. Most of our electeds hold a chief deputy forever because they're their closest person. I mean, that's just factual information. But to throw out the shiny objects and point at other departments and say, look at how horrible they are, look at how horrible they are. You got to look internally sometimes and straighten the mess out there. That department has been restructured 3 times since I've been there, and I suggested it wasn't a great idea to Anna directly. I considered Anna a friend for many years, and I said, I wouldn't do this. She said, you're not going to support me? I said, I'll support you because it's your department, but I don't think you should do it. But she's done it, and we keep restructuring the department. So without trying to pick on anybody, let's just get real and be honest that we all have to look internally sometimes. It's a small county. We have problems. We're making great progress, and I'm really proud of it, and we have a lot to look forward to. But we're always going to have problems. Greenlee County has problems, Santa Cruz problems, everybody has problems.
But as the current supervisor, you've heard it directly from someone who's had multiple, very bad experiences in the building department, who's putting this in your things to do, because we're not gonna stop improving.
No, I don't want you to, and I want it to be great. And when those things happen, I wish you'd come to me, because when people come to me with those problems, generally where we end up is, if I can't get it figured out myself, then I will bring you in with the community development director, and we'll all meet and we'll figure it out. I don't want to see things stop. That's what I'm promoting, is making things happen.
So, biggest problem with the community development department is a lack of policy and procedure. Okay? An operations manual. So as they do change hands, the new people coming in know what the actions are they're supposed to take in those departments. I've asked for those records, and I've been told they don't exist. So I've either been lied to or they don't exist. Policy and procedure is something I'm very strong at, and a big reason why I chose to run. That department, yeah, it affects every one of us in here, and your question was specifically to the community development department. I was at a luncheon today, and somebody else brought another situation that they had. That is a daily occurrence for me as I'm out and about talking to people. This is not a surprise. This is ongoing. It has not gotten better, and it needs to. Absolutely.
I'll follow up on that. I've had the opportunity to serve 4 other small communities in Arizona as a town manager. And these communities are so small that the town manager is you're everything. You're the economic developer, you're the, sometimes you're the finance director, you're everything. So the important thing is good customer service. Because you are in a small town, small community, you have to have diplomacy, you have to be a diplomat, you have to be tactful. So there's one aspect of that. You have to be fair, you have to be honest, and there's things like that. So what we can do at a board level, we can look at the processes, we can make sure that there's interdepartmental things that are working and things like that. But it all goes back to that county administrator. We've had past county administrators that were weren't very tactful, weren't very good people. We've had better people over in the past. It starts there, and it starts working through the department. And again, when a new board comes in next January, that's going to be our most important decision, is who's going to be that county administrator. So, yes.
I just want to know is the inspector you hired was he certified? Remember, the people that we hire, we have to hire them uncertified, then we send them to school, just like the assessor's office. So he was doing inspections while he was not certified, correct? Well, I don't know everybody's individual certification because I don't manage that department. I'd be happy to. So who does? We have a director in the department, and that director reports to the county administrator. Again, if you guys want to throw shiny objects out there, keep throwing them. But you just brought up the point.
Roadrunners, they've set houses down. It's a good friend of yours, and they set houses down, and they're not even permitted yet.
I have a number of good friends upriver, and
the folks at
Roadrunner are good friends, and I'm excited to see what they're doing.
So they didn't come to you and say, "Hey, I'm getting these all done, and I haven't pulled the permit."
Is there a question in here, or are we debating?
No, I'm just
because
saying.
if Anna can defend herself, I think, but she went up there. She went up there and trespassed.
People do stuff, and other people you're holding them to, like these people.
No, you're not. They're the shiny objects again. Roadrunner's going to do everything that they're required to do. They have brought in.
They have to do it before. They should be
That's
getting
not
penalized.
accurate. Read the code.
Oh.
See, we say we don't have policies and procedures. Read the code. Mike brought it over and we sat down and he read it to me. So see, I don't think this stuff is funny because I heard Anna say when she came up here, I'm glad you're here because this is the one time you get to hear the truth. Well, that would be great if we were all required to give you all truthful information. But if we can just say whatever we want to say about each other.
Just let me know. Is the dog catcher that you hired?
We don't have a dog catcher.
Is he certified?
We don't have a dog catcher.
Well, it used to be a dog catcher.
Never had a dog catcher. I think your sarcasm isn't placed well here. I mean, again, it's the shiny object theory. Throw out pick another department.
Does anybody else have any questions for us?
So, I-10, the Ken West Link, the new power poles that are going on I-10. There's an area out there that's designated solar. Is there anything in the near future coming up to bring monies to the county on that area being dedicated solar?
Yes, so there is a corridor for solar development. La Paz County owns 6,000 acres in that corridor. We purchased it from BLM. That was very public when we were going through that process. We're trying to get originally we requested 10,000 acres. It had to go to Congress. You heard the expression that would take an act of Congress. It literally took an act of Congress for us to be able to buy that land. And we had to pay fair market value, but we purchased it. And we're trying to get, originally it was 10,000 was a request. They knocked it down to 6, purely political between Republicans and Democrats in Washington. But now we're trying to get the other 4 back. Representative Gosar and Senator Sinema have introduced bills in their respective chambers to move that process forward. As far as the revenues, we've been receiving revenue all along from the company that we're leasing the land to, 174 Power Global. That money this year in our budget, which we will adopt our final budget in the next few weeks or a month, our tentative budget, we're able to add 1.5 million in revenue this year from that project. So we're moving into, it's structured so right now they pay us to maintain the option on the land initially. Then when it moves into the construction phase, we get higher rent, and then when it moves into operation, we get the highest rent. So eventually, it'll be in the $5-6 million a year range that we'll be generating revenues. If we get the other 4,000, it'll be much higher, and that's before we add any property tax or personal property tax on their improvements. That's just our land lease, because we're just a landlord. They pay us for leasing the land.
So who owns that global company? Who owns the global company?
It's 174 Power Global, and it's a corporate maze of companies, but ultimately the home company is out of Korea.
We had a question over here.
Korea? Really?
Charlie,
We
any
don't have an
questions?
American company that can do solar?
Yeah.
They're the biggest one in the world, so.
I don't care.
I
I think that would be part of your problem
Thanks for selling
as a
us out.
supervisor to make sure you buy American, do American, not bring in somebody from Korea.
We didn't bring them in. We went through a process, a bidding process, and they were the ones that won the bid.
So because you allowed them to win the bid, you do not have to take the lowest bid or the highest bid. We didn't take the bid that makes the most sense for the community.
Right.
That does not make the most sense for the community. That's my opinion.
I know, I appreciate that, but you got it. There's more to it. How many drive Chevy cars? Made in America, right? You know, most of them are made in Canada.
1960 Chevy.
We all.
Made in America.
But that's just a reality of the world that we live in and the way things are done. When they built the 10 West Link, I was out there for the ribbon cutting with the union workers, American union workers who built that line. There will be. The jobs they're not gonna bring people from Korea to hold these jobs.
I agree with that. But the problem is that they now control the land because they own the land.
No, we own the land.
You're leasing it from them.
Correct. We're leasing it to them.
As long as they have a lease on it, they own the land. Because as long as they're paying for it, they have control of it.
What do you think they might do? They're gonna.
I don't care what they do.
What their
I care the
profit
fact that they sold out to another country.
Well, they have a number of American subsidiaries, but you asked the question, so I gave the answer that the home company is from Korea.
The same problem with our alfalfa that's being grown is going to.
Well, I don't. Again, I don't know that I would compare that.
All of our water.
I can also tell you, you might not like this. A lot of the power generated is going to go to California. Might as well be going to a foreign country, but
I believe there was a question over here, the guy in the green shirt.
Do we have a new moderator?
Did you have a question?
I did. I'm curious, is my district going to supervise the
I'm not sure. Say that again. So
District 1.
Right.
Supervisor.
David Plunkett. Yep.
District 2 supervisor.
Myself. Yep.
Are you guys not supposed to work together?
Well, yeah, we're supposed to work. What do you mean work? Of course we work
Okay,
together.
so
All
what I'm
three board
getting at
members.
is his slogan is sell the land, right? The growth. He's the largest realtor in the area, is he not?
If he's not, he's
Okay,
close
and
to
then
it.
not only that, but you, in my humble opinion, was trying to go sneaky and change the zoning on the 40.
Thank you for saying that, because let me define sneaky. Because a few residents living in that area did not like the idea of that zoning change. We posted that
Incorrectly.
No, yeah, so we, and then posted it again, and then posted. I give up, I'm corrupt. I think, yeah, no, I know. I've seen the signs. If that's the group that I'm talking to, I'm not gonna get very far because you're not gonna listen.
I praise you.
Let's just speak for a moment. Let me finish this thought. Let's at least hear it out. Okay? Please, speak your mind.
I'm joking about the corruption thing. I think it's funny when people throw things out. You know, there was an anonymous letter that came out that talked about my relationship with my wife. And I wasn't the only one involved. There was a whole bunch of people on the letter. It's anonymous. That kind of garbage goes on. I see these signs that are not legal campaign signs. You know, I don't play that game. I'm here to tell you what I'm doing. I'm proud of our county. I'm proud of the progress we've made. I'm proud of our future. And I've worked really hard in the Bouse area for the last 8 years. I actually love Bouse. I have a lot of friends out here that I've developed over the last 8 years. And I see the people that are out here doing the work on the ground and volunteering, and I respect them and appreciate it. So I've done everything I can do to support them in finding funding for them through either our contributions or through directing them to the IDA so they can get some money. It's a wonderful little community, but you know, if people aren't happy with me, I don't know what I would do different. I don't know how much more I would do. I read you part of the list. If they give me time, I'd read it all to you, but there's just all kinds of things. Oh, now we have 3 moderators. Who's moderating? I'm curious.
Excuse me. We need to let on with the 42 piece. I'd like to hear the rest of your thought on the 42 piece.
No, that's important because I supported the zoning change. And Ms. Nolter came in, and at one point she was worried about her health conditions, and that it had something to do with things inside that fire off some kind of synopsis. And I felt horrible. And we did talk, and she kept telling me, "You don't hear me." And I said, "No, I do hear you. But I also hear people that are for this." And you have to understand, if you're going to be in this position, you're going to hear people that are very passionate about topics from both sides. Now, the thing that I was trying to explain to people, and one of the reasons I supported that zoning change, as I was explaining to somebody earlier just in conversation, if I could go out and find 10 more companies like that garage door company, I would do it in a heartbeat. The only water they're going to use in their process in that plant is in their break room and their toilets. So it's a perfect thing for La Paz County. And I thought that was a good location for it that the gentleman purchased. But he wanted to make the zoning correct to move it forward. We read the zoning code together. We said it needs to be light industrial, not heavy industrial, but light industrial. And people got upset about that. And I said, please read the code, because it's amazing what the limits in light industrial. You can't make noise, you can't shake the ground, you can't have emissions or smoke. Anything that's done has to be done inside an enclosed building except for deliveries and pickups. I mean, it's a very good place for us. I think it's doing very well out there. I don't think people are really noticing much about it, but since it's been there. But here's the kicker. The current zoning on that property right now today, that gentleman tomorrow could put 142 head of steer or pigs, sheep. That's what he could put out there right now. And he could be using water for that. He could plant alfalfa and grow it and use the water. It's zoned RA, rural agricultural. Changing it to light industrial for the purpose that he's using it would have been much better for the community than what could go there. Now, I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Beg your pardon? The door's open right now.
So we're gonna let the others reflect on the 42E. So go ahead, Carrie Ann or Philip, one of you have something.
I'd like to say something. I'm a beekeeper. I'm a Vince Lombardi kind of guy. Simple blocking and tackling. If there's something wrong with the whole process, then we need to go back and look at it and get it right. If there's something wrong with the zoning, we need to go back and look at it. And I think where the problem is the general plan hasn't been updated since I think 2005. Therein lies the problem. If there's so much confusion about what we can build, what we can't build, and this, that, and the other thing, then we need to go back and fix it. And it doesn't need to be fixed up by the small little smoky broom up at Parker. It needs to be the people that live in the area that determine where things get built and how it's going to be. Not the people in some of the area, not some vague, real estate interest. And this thing about BLM land, why are we so focused on BLM land for a group in Korea? Again, I have a background from a prestigious school in international relations, that teaches diplomats throughout the world, Fletcher School, if you care to know about it. Why are we helping other countries develop, their wealth when it should be here? 2010, there was a notice from the BLM to dispose land in Quartzsite and other areas in the county. This is land that BLM said we don't need anymore, yet it's still on the books today in 2024, whatever year it is. You know what some of that land is? Some of that land is where the Quartzsite Fire District Station is. We're still leasing that land from the BLM. And you know who's paying for that lease? The taxpayers. Why isn't the county, we're focusing on the BLM, kicking them in the rear end, hey, get that land off your books. That's where we should be focusing our efforts. Why are we still using these long-term visitor areas here in Bouse, in Quartzsite? Why are we sending that money off to who knows where in federal la-la land? Why aren't those county parks and the money staying here locally? Why aren't we hiring local park, camp managers here so that we can clean up our desert, we can secure the area, instead of whenever there's a federal, tax holiday or whatever, when they have a budget problem and the whole desert ends up being a big mess. That's stuff that the county supervisor should be focusing on. So when I look at this election up here on July 30th, we have a fortunate time. You have two real good candidates you can look at, me and Carrie Ann. How often do you have two candidates to look at? So that's my bit. If I wasn't running, I'd be voting for Carrie Ann, but obviously I'm running, so I got to vote for myself.
All right, so 42, we've talked about this as a community for a long amount of time. I think the takeaways from this goes back to what I said about not feeling represented out here in the rural areas. Mr. Miner makes comments about, a few people, and if I had the opportunity to put 8 more, however many he said, of these same out here, we moved out here for the rural life. Okay, I moved out of the city to come to the rural life, And it is a lifestyle, and unless you've ever lived it and chosen it, you don't understand it. And I've asked him to explain what it is he thought he got. He doesn't get it. Okay? I am going to fight for our rural life. Now that doesn't mean there's going to be zero growth. Life will continue on. Growth will still happen. But it has to happen at a pace that is natural to rural environment, or it's not rural anymore. So do you want a supervisor that's going to continue to support industry after industry after industry because we got lots of vast land out here? Or do you want a supervisor who's going to stand up, show up, and protect your rural way of life?
Right.
Why were they allowed to put that much investment into that property, knowing full well it was agriculture, not like industrial, unless they can guarantee you that the zoning would change?
Well, obviously,
That's just my question.
obviously the zoning was not guaranteed because it didn't change.
And then
Beg your pardon?
promise to them that it would change.
Well, I thought it was a great
My
location.
question is, why were they allowed to invest that much money without it being?
That's not a decision that we make, that's a decision they make, and they do that, and people put wells in all the time. We don't control
Permits for
wells.
wells?
I sat
we
at
don't-
the kitchen table with Bill Solenberger, the representative for Unique Garage Door, trying to negotiate with them to allow them to move there. He said, I do not have to negotiate with you guys. We have assurances this is going through. That was from his mouth.
Well, again, and
It's a shiny thing,
yeah, because people are saying things that are just not true, and apparently that's okay. If it makes a point. Because I would never.
That's what they before they have the zoning.
I will swear on the stack of Bibles to that. Yeah, he had to
Well,
recuse it.
okay, let's be clear. David Plunkett, in his words, out of an abundance of caution, recused himself from the vote on the zoning.
Conflict of interest, would that be the shiny thing?
A week later, when we had a meeting to discuss it, we learned, and we believed all along, it was not a conflict of interest, but the vote had already happened. So he did not.
The vote had already happened after you were told that it was illegal to put the warehouse out there because it was zoned agricultural, residential only. I was at that meeting. You all were told that it was illegal for you to vote that through, and you did it anyway.
But who told us it was illegal?
The lady that wasn't there at the meeting, she called, she was in on a phone conversation.
But that was that's the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and again, people say things that aren't always accurate, believe it or not.
Well, apparently she was accurate because it was illegal.
It's not, it wasn't illegal.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. We got 2 more minutes for this group.
I've been in this county for 33 years. Anytime I try to get something done, all the supervisors talk out of both sides of the mouth, nothing happens. I talk to Annika Manchin, she does everything she can to get something to happen for me, and she does. She doesn't just talk about it, she gets it done. You guys let her down all the time, and I'm sick and tired of it.
I'm sure she appreciates the support. Can I touch on one thing that came up earlier because it's important? People talked about the justice courts. I mean, everybody else, it's a topic that people want to talk about. So when we made the decision to consolidate the justice courts, it had been talked about for a number of years. And it doesn't cost us $800,000 to operate the courts. That's how much we're saving. It costs more than that. But what you need to understand, and this is the things that go into a decision for me before I'm going to make a decision, is doing the homework and understanding what we're talking about. The Arizona Supreme Court evaluates the justice courts throughout Arizona every year. They publish a report. If they measure it in what they call judicial credits. I don't know how they calculate a judicial credit. I don't know if it's a misdemeanor versus this or versus that, but they value them or judge them by judicial credits. In Arizona, if a justice court reaches 1,200 judicial credits, then the county has to split that justice court and create another precinct. At the time that we consolidated the 3 courts, our 3 courts combined were not reaching 600 judicial credits. So the 3 courts combined were not reaching half of the threshold that would require to split into another precinct. So again, you're the taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer. I don't want to see my money wasted. If you're okay with just getting taxed to death and to have things that people think would be a great idea, you're going to pay the bill. We're saving $800,000 a year, and I think that's substantial, and I think it's important. And I'm very proud of that decision. So the fact that my opponents disagree with me, I think that's great, because that gives you a choice. You want to throw money away, or do you want to have somebody who's going to live within our means?
Okay, I'll rebut that. Okay, so one person who made that decision, David Plunkett, his district is not affected by that decision. Not one iota. That decision should have been a taxpayer decision that should have been referred out to the people to make that decision, because that's a constitutional aspect of their access to justice. I don't care if it's a savings of $800,000 or some iota or some judicial whatever. That is you're never going to save money in the courts. The courts are probably the most expensive thing that you're going to spend money on, except for your law enforcement. Again, that's money that we have to spend it on, and if the people, that's what they want, that's what they get. But it's not something, a decision of 3 people should make that decision. And again, if it was such a great decision, all 3 of the supervisors would have said yes on it, and they did not. 1 dissented.
And aren't they graded as far as the amount of money per legal expenses or whatever, the different court systems? Because if I'm not mistaken, Salome had the...
It's okay, finish your question.
No, my understanding was Salome area actually had the lowest cost ratio for each court sentence or, each court date. Why did it go to Parker instead of going to Salome if Salome was more cost effective?
And actually, both Salome and Quartzsite were more cost effective than Parker was. So no, I don't agree with it. And again, it goes to this not understanding the people that he's supposed to be representing. He doesn't want to waste his taxpayer dollars. Well, that was a service that Quartzsite now has to go 45 minutes to get to. Salome has to go over an hour to get to, and it affects some of our most vulnerable people. So it again is another, well, let's just take it away from the rural people and bring it into where Parker is, even though that wasn't the most cost-effective way to go about that. So I don't agree with it. I think it's hugely disrespectful that on his website he puts it down as a win. That's his perspective, is that shutting courts down and shutting the public defenders is a win in his book.
He doesn't call it public defender, he calls it, what he called it? Indigent.
Yes.
Well, that's the technical term for the service.
So you have a choice. Mr. Cushman's right. You have a choice coming up on July 30th. And I really appreciate that you guys all came out here to hear all 3 of us.
Maybe we can have Anna, Leah, Richard. If you guys want to come up, you guys have any questions for them? They are unopposed, but your elected officials, should you guys have any questions for them? Anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
I have a question for Anna.
Yes.
Are you the one who manages, we had a problem with our property, and in order to put our loan, we had to get an affidavit of a fixture. Are you the one that was involved in that?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I've been wanting to ask you that for like all evening.
Richard, how long or is it closed can you apply to be a poll worker?
A poll watcher? Are you poll worker or what? Poll watcher? You'd have to bring that up with the elections director, Bob, because he's in charge and oversees the polls on election day. If you're wanting to be a poll watcher on election day, you would have to bring that up with him. I don't handle that.
Anybody else?
Can I just make a quick statement? So you know that people ask me, Anna, what 3 things keep you up at night? The number 1 thing right now is land fraud. Land fraud and squatters and people forging documents. Richard has a program. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we call it the document notification service. So it's supposed to aid you and alert you if somebody records a fraudulent document with your name on it. So it's a free service through my office. You can go online and create your account. You're able to enter up to 8 names. And so anytime somebody records a document with that name, it'll alert you. As long as you have a good valid email, working email, it's gonna alert you, and then you're able to look into it and see if it has anything to do with your property. Because if you have a very common name like a John Smith, it's possible that you might get an alert, and it may not have anything to do with you, but it's something, right, to alert you and look into it. And it's to combat against any kind of property fraud, and it's free.
And in on my side of the street, when it comes to fraud, I'm trying to get the board to listen to a program that Mojave County has already installed, and it's called the AAPP program, Assessors Addressing Protection Program. It would be a volunteer. You would have to submit some kind of payment, but what would happen is a lot of times in the past, you used to call my office and say, hey, I want to change my address, and we would change it over the phone. I don't know who you are, right? And we would change it, but we stopped doing that. But we want to jump on that wagon with Mojave County because the assessor is saying that it's very popular and people are signing up. And I want to give you guys another cover. It's not going to definitely prohibit anybody from stealing your property, but it might be another layer. With Richard and with my help, maybe we can get that layer on so we can try to protect you a little bit better. So it's sitting at the attorneys right now. It's been there for over a year. I would hope that the supervisors would push that. That's something that needs to happen. Sometimes you can't wait. If we keep waiting, it'll get bigger and bigger. Let's catch it now, before it spreads. Yes? It's sitting at the county attorneys. I sent it to them last year, February, and I was told by the finance department that they had to go through some kind of analysis. So it's just dead right now. I wrote an article in the paper on it.
Even have a county attorney anymore. So what is going on with it now?
I can't answer that question. I can't. But in listening to your complaints, fraud, theft of property is a big concern to you guys, and it's ours too, all 3 of us, because Leah deals with it too on the other side. Because back in the day, if somebody would have changed the mailing address, they don't get their tax bill. If they don't get their tax bill, they don't pay it. And how many years does it take not to pay the tax bill if it goes to tax lien?
It's 7 years delinquency in the state of Arizona before it gets deeded back to the state. But we make every attempt, but if somebody doesn't reach out, just try your best.
Leah, I want to make sure you get, somebody
Sure.
ask a question.
Probably the 3rd week of September. We're on target like every year.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you. Okay, and we'll have the sheriff candidates come up. Okay, any questions for the sheriff's candidates?
Okay, thank you.
You guys repeat the question, you can't hear back here.
I asked him what's his first mission to accomplish if he gets voted in.
Well, my first mission, I can't speak for the sheriff, obviously, My first mission is to restore the department's relationship with its employees. As I mentioned, the loss of personnel in the last 3.5 years has been unprecedented. Unprecedented. Not just the numbers of people, but the people that the department lost. The talent, the training, and the experience that the department lost is just phenomenal. And all because of the change in leadership and the type of leadership. So my first goal is to reestablish that relationship with the employees that makes them comfortable working there. They don't feel bullied and threatened and all these other things. And so we can start the process of rebuilding the department because we've lost so much. I'm sorry, Sheriff, did you have a response? Or was that question for me? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
All these people have left, did they just quit, or did they go to work for another law enforcement somewhere else?
Oh, the vast majority of them are working for other departments.
So let me answer. Money?
I'm sorry?
Making more money?
Probably. But that's not why they left.
Probably, actually, they are.
Yeah.
Just so you know, we make about $5 to $6 less an hour of all the surrounding agencies within the county. We're not even talking about DPS or the Metropolitan Phoenix agencies, which we continue. This is a problem nationwide. It's not strictly La Paz County. Okay.
I had just heard that on the street, that people were leaving so they could make more money. And I know it comes down to taxes and stuff, but you gotta pay what you can pay. And
correct. And I've worked with the supervisors for the last 3 years telling them that we have issues related to staffing and retaining people because of the finances and what we're able to pay. It's very difficult to retain people. Before I took office, there was already 5 people who had applications at other agencies prior to me stepping in the door to even seeing what kind of leadership I was gonna bring. Okay, that's 5. So we have 35 sworn deputies. We don't even have 50 sworn deputies. So if you're talking department-wide, that's 100 employees. He's alleging 50 employees have left. I don't believe that to be accurate. A 22-year civilian veteran is what he's talking about, not a law enforcement officer, okay? Civilian employees. There is gonna be change. Every sheriff that comes in, there's change. So he can harp on that all he wants. But let's be realistic, that's what happens. And people need to evolve. Evolution occurs regardless of whether we want it to or not, does it not? Okay, so we have to know whether we're gonna be willing to accept the change. If we're not willing to accept it, then we're gonna leave. That's what happens. I've been in law enforcement for over 2 decades. Like I said, the last 10 have been in a command level position. I've run 3 different departments. I've seen people come and go, but we have a group of individuals there now that are more highly qualified than the previous employees. A lot of employees had 4 and 5 years, and they didn't get raises for 4 or 5 years in that 5-year period that they were here. So where'd they go? Parker PD, Quartzsite PD, DPS, Phoenix, Havasu. They went to different places. So let's talk truthfully. Let's not talk half-truths. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're gonna get nothing but truths from me. It may not be what you wanna hear, but it's the truth. Okay? The department is in a very good place that it is. It may not be the department that he was part of the previous sheriff, but we are in a far better place than we've been. And we are continuing to strive and move forward and progress the organization in a much better place than we've been. I'm telling you, we're respected at the state level now, where we didn't have the respect. We were laughing stock. I was talking to other sheriffs, and I was embarrassed because of the things that they would say to me. When are you gonna clean up that office? When are you gonna make it look professional? I'm the new seated sheriff, and I'm being told this by other sheriffs. That's an embarrassment to me. I'm very committed to my job, committed to my organization, and more importantly, committed to this county. Again, I'm born and raised here. So am I committed? Heck yeah, I am, 100%. That's what you get from me. Yes, sir.
I just want to commend you because I retired from the fire department, and grants are very, very hard to do. And I commend that, you got 7 million?
7 million in the last 3 years.
That is astonishing. I mean, because you need that money, to get equipment and all that. And I truly commend you because I have been on that side doing grants with fire departments, and it's challenging.
It's not enjoyable.
It's not just free money. You have to, and then you got to spend it on
Accordingly.
according to the grant.
Right.
And that is a big accomplishment. There's a lot of places that have had fire departments that just couldn't do it because it was a hassle. It couldn't have had it because it doesn't happen. And that's one thing I gotta say is, in the last 3 years, you got that amount of money because usually it takes longer. It's crazy on that, doing grants. And then the other thing is, thank you for clearing out one of the hangars at the airport that had all the prior stuff that was expired and for another title.
Yes, sir.
So we have this.
This gentleman here?
Well, we known each other quite a while.
Yes, we have. We have.
And I want to thank you for the pursuit vehicles that are in this area, because the fast trucks have slowed down or not here anymore. And I talked to your deputy. I think he's great. You've got a good man.
I appreciate that, and I want to thank you, the citizens, for bringing that to my attention, because it was with you guys telling me what our needs were out here, and I took it to heart. That was a grant, the Governor's Office of Highway Safety grant vehicle that was given to us, and that we were able to put somebody in that position full time.
I got one more thing.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
We have a problem with theft.
Correct.
And anytime I turned in a theft and I told them exactly who stole it, where the material is, he said, we can't do anything about it.
So we've had a struggle, and there's been and we talked about the previous meeting I met with you guys at regarding prosecution in our side of the house, trying to make it cohesive. So we are still trying to work on that. I can't speak on the other department, but I can tell you that what we're trying to do is we created this team that's going to start here in the next 6 months. That's going to be out here focused on thefts and burglaries and apprehension and be able to do investigation, because that's all their job is going to be countywide. So that's what I'm telling you is going to happen. But I got to be in office to be able to continue my jobs. I'm only halfway where I want to be, but I'm still moving. Mr. Castro, you had a question, sir? I'm glad you asked that question, because that's one of Deuce's biggest pet peeves was the jail and the financial status of the jail, right? When I took office, the jail was in the red, okay? We now have federal, state, and tribal contracts that I obtained and my staff to try to sustain this jail through other means, because we don't have the funding to be able to sustain it. It's a problem. And we aren't getting the federal inmates that we used to want to get prior to me taking office. So I did a lot of research and spoke to the feds, and they said, well, part of the problem was the previous administration did not want to have a good relationship with us. They did not want to house the inmates. Well, here, I want to reestablish that relationship, and I want to move it forward, and let's talk about it. So now we get a percentage, not as much as we were getting under like Sheriff Collette and previous sheriffs, but we're getting a fraction of that. We're still starting to reestablish that relationship and move things forward. So the relationship is getting better. The inmate count is increasing. Again, I've got federal, tribal inmates in there that I'm housing at a fee that presents us money that we can turn over to the board and say, here, look, we're making a profit of somewhat now. It's not going to sustain the jail completely, because the jails are not a financial profit situation. Hope that answers your question, sir. Is there any other questions for me? Mr. Wright.
3.5 years ago when we talked about putting radar signs on the 72. And you said, well, you might be able to get that done through ADOT. Have you worked on that at all?
I have worked on that. So ADOT is so strict on their rules and regulations. I'm still battling with them. I don't know if you've seen our cameras that we have here in the community. We've had them taken down by ADOT, and we're still trying to get the agreement. I actually signed the agreement today to get it reestablished again with flock systems, and I'm still working on those things.
Okay.
So those are in my list of to-dos, but I have not completed those yet.
Okay.
They just put the LPRs back.
They just barely did. Yeah. But they took them down because they were not in compliance.
Yeah.
That's how they wanted. So we had to take them down, change them, and then put them back up. So there's so much bureaucratic red tape with ADOT.
Yeah.
You know, I do want those as well, but we're working on it.
How will that help?
Well, we're hopeful that people will be compliant. I don't know that it will, but you know.
Well, we're talking, I mean, this 72, and I'm fairly new to living in this area, and not too far from the 72, that's called Blood Alley. And I've seen 4 people killed.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that's enough.
Correct.
We need to start doing something.
So-
I've walked it. I've walked the road.
I know we've had some recent accidents, and I'm aware of recent fatalities that are not very good. I mean, bad situations. And so we are trying to we've got the traffic guy out here as much as we can, but he's got to do the whole county. But we also are going to have that team. They will also do traffic along with their criminal investigations while they're doing them. So we plan to have more presence, and we're hopeful that in the coming years, the board will give us more staff, but I can't promise that.
My question was you want to put the radar
Radar light,
Right.
Yes.
How is that supposed to work with the truck?
I know myself, if I go through Skull Valley, I see the sign flashing that I'm doing 50 miles an hour, and it says it's supposed to be 25, I slow down.
Oh, yeah, well.
That's a deterrent.
So here's another situation. There's been a problem with ADOT, and it's the bureaucratic red tape again. ADOT enforcement. Okay, right now, under this current administration, ADOT commercial enforcement is not allowed to come out and do traffic enforcement like they previously were several years ago. They are restricted to the ports only. So they were doing commercial enforcement for us, and we were partnering with them, if you recall, previous years. But under the new administration, they're not allowed to leave the ports. So we're trying to work something out. But DPS is also short-staffed, so you're not seeing DPS troopers out here as much as we'd like to. But we are trying to work something out. Yes, sir.
Is there a procedure that maybe can be done to make this a safety corridor where fines are tripled?
That'd be something that we have to research. That'd be something we have to research. I can't tell you that that's something that we can do right now. We'd have to look into that, but that's a good idea.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all.
One more question.
Do we still have our voting division?
So we do have our voting division. So we just actually changed in the budget this year. We had to put it underneath the general fund because that grant has continued to diminish over the years. So now it is now under the general fund, and we are tracking the monies, and we've been fighting at the state trying to get them to give us more money, because one of the problems with it, they use the voter registration to give you funding. Well, the number of residents we have in this county is very small, right? But where do all of our voters come from? California, Nevada, the Phoenix metro area. Well, their votes are not registered here. So therefore, we don't receive that tax money back here. That's something that we've all been fighting for. Our board of supervisors and the sheriff, me and the sheriffs in Arizona are fighting to try to restructure the way those monies are allocated. So we are working on that. The voting division is not diminished. It's just changed from where it was structured at underneath the budget.
So you're saying that my wife should let me buy a boat so I can get registered?
I would appreciate that greatly.
Can we get grant money for those?
So
we all get them?
Yeah, right? So thank you, folks. I appreciate it.
George wants everybody to know that he brought a whole bunch of hot dogs, and please eat.
And they're good.
He doesn't want to take them home. So the other thing that I think is important is Richard told us that he will be here in the Bouse area on July 10th from 10 to 2. So you can vote early, so that if you like to vote early, if you have your early ballot, if you have questions, he'll be here to represent you. And I think that's a great asset. So thank you, Richard, for that. The other thing that July 30th in our county across the board, we have a low voter turnout. So grab your neighbor, grab your cousin, grab your family, and try to get everybody registered to vote, and make sure everybody knows that you can vote early July 3rd through the 26th. So even if you don't get an early ballot in the mail, you can still go to Richard and vote early. Election day is the 30th. Independent voters can vote. They'll just have to pick a ballot. So Democrat, Republican, and Independents, everybody gets to vote. So thank you, Richard, for representing Bouse. All these people appreciate you. And thank you to all the candidates who came out tonight. I think we had a great night with great questions. And I think you guys all behaved yourself for the most part. So, thank you.